The council chamber shimmered with light from 1,000 systems, its air thick with arrogance. Alien delegates lounged in floating seats, their robes heavy with insignias of power earned through millennia of conquest. At the center, beneath the grand emblem of the Galactic Union, stood the representative of the Zarathi Dominion, scaled, towering, and sneering. His voice echoed through the chamber as he presented the footage of burning ships and disintegrating bodies. Human freighters, civilian and unarmed, consumed in flames. The Dominion called it justice. The Council called it an unfortunate but understandable act. The human envoy said nothing. No outrage, no plea for justice. He stood motionless, hands clasped behind his back, face unreadable beneath the soft halo of light. The council mistress of the Arkan species turned toward him with a faint smile, the condescension obvious. "Earth representative," she said smoothly, "perhaps now you will understand the boundaries of civilized space. Trespassing has consequences." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the delegates. The human finally lifted his gaze, slow and deliberate. His tone was calm, devoid of anger, yet heavier than any threat the hall had ever heard. "Congratulations," he said. "You just declared war on the most lethal species alive." Silence strangled the chamber. For a heartbeat, no one breathed. Then came laughter, uneasy at first, then growing into a chorus of derision. The Dominion general bared his fangs in amusement. "War?" he mocked. "You think yourselves capable of that?" The laughter spread, echoing against the polished walls, washing over the human like wind against stone. He didn't move. He didn't blink. When he finally spoke again, his words were quiet, but the weight of them settled like gravity. "We don't start wars. We end them." He turned, collected his data pad, and walked out, leaving the sound of laughter behind him. No guard followed. No one dared. Across the vast expanse of space, the Dominion's propaganda machines worked feverishly. They broadcast the footage across every network: human ships destroyed, crews executed, bodies drifting in orbit. To the Dominion, it was a triumph, a display of dominance. The Council viewed it as stability restored. But in the outer colonies of humanity, silence spread like a storm front. No speeches, no news broadcasts, no official declarations. Every channel went dark, every station ceased transmission. The Dominion mistook it for surrender. They told their citizens that the humans had been broken, that fear had finally taught the Earth-born humility. Yet in the deep void between stars, humanity moved. Quietly. Efficiently. The words of the ambassador reached every ship, every fleet admiral, every intelligence division. "War has been declared. Respond accordingly." Factories shifted production without announcement. Civilian vessels disappeared into refit stations. Supply chains rerouted into encrypted patterns invisible to alien sensors. Human space seemed to vanish into shadow, communications scrambled, signals silent. The Dominion's border patrols reported strange readings near asteroid fields, fleeting pings, short bursts of unidentified energy, but dismissed them as static. Within the Council, unease began to creep in. Species who once found humanity amusing now avoided speaking their name. Reports trickled in of human trade envoys leaving agreements unsigned, of their colonies refusing to accept diplomatic visitors. A few ambassadors tried to reach Earth. None received a reply. 3 days after the ambassador's warning, an observation probe near Sol detected movement, massive, synchronized, organized. Then it vanished. The data never reached the Dominion. Still, the aliens laughed. They had faced rebellions before, crushed countless insurgents across the stars. They told themselves humans were no different. A young species? A loud one. One that didn't yet understand the scale of power. But on Earth, behind sealed command centers and encrypted satellites, something ancient stirred. Humans did not rush to war, they calculated it. Every move measured, every action deliberate. No banners, no speeches, no songs of vengeance. Just a cold, patient silence. And in that silence, something was coming. Something the galaxy had never faced before. The council's laughter still echoed across the stars, but among those who had seen the human envoy's eyes, none could forget that look. Calm. Certain. Like a predator studying prey that hadn't yet realized it was already caught. Across the Dominion frontier, space remained deceptively calm. Patrol fleets continued their routes, broadcasting victory reports, while their command centers replayed propaganda feeds showing human ships disintegrating in fire. But in the deep void beyond sensor range, humanity's silence became its weapon. Not a single transmission, no declaration, no retaliation, only stillness so complete that it began to unsettle even the arrogant. The Dominion interpreted it as fear. It wasn't. It was preparation. Inside Earth's orbital defense ring, command networks merged under Operation Retribution. The process was absolute. Hundreds of artificial intelligences linked through encrypted quantum channels, creating an adaptive command brain faster than any organic species could imagine. Civilian infrastructure converted overnight, factories retooled for munitions, transport fleets reassigned for logistics. The order was simple: no communication outside human systems, no visible movement until the signal. Each step calculated to project weakness while concealing the storm beneath. Admiral Marcus Hale studied the data in silence. Every Dominion fleet position, every trade route, every signal relay was catalogued. His command centers worked without rest, monitoring gravitational distortions for weeks, tracking even the subtlest fluctuations in warp signatures. Humanity was not building toward war, it was aligning every resource, every byte of data, into a single machine of vengeance. No fanfare, no political approval. The machinery of retribution simply moved. In the colonies, civilians continued their daily lives under a quiet code of readiness. Mining rigs vanished from sensors, their output redirected toward military construction. Orbital habitats masked energy emissions, making entire stations appear lifeless. Merchant convoys traveling through neutral zones began carrying false transponders and decoy heat signatures to hide supply operations. On the surface, the galaxy saw a species retreating into fear. In truth, every fragment of humanity was synchronizing toward a single goal: annihilation of those who had murdered their own. Within the Dominion High Council, arrogance bred blindness. Their intelligence ministers boasted of intercepted human transmissions filled with meaningless static, unaware those distortions were deliberate encryption layers. They mocked human inefficiency, claiming their industry was collapsing. The Dominion Emperor smiled before his advisors and declared that Earth would soon beg for mercy. Behind him, scientists reported strange data leaks across their sensor networks, small code anomalies dismissed as errors. None realized those fragments were the first infiltration threads of human cyber warfare, crawling through systems, replicating, rewriting subroutines silently. Weeks passed, and unease spread through neutral civilizations. Exploration vessels entering human sectors returned with incomplete logs, some never returning at all. The few survivors described vast regions where sensors failed, comms distorted, and shadows seemed to move against starlight. Galactic analysts theorized environmental anomalies. Strategists whispered of stealth technology far beyond known limits. Still, no one had proof. Humanity had become invisible by choice. Admiral Hale's councils coordinated without voice or meeting. The AIs under his command predicted every Dominion countermeasure, simulating millions of battle scenarios per second. The projected outcome never changed: victory within 3 days of engagement. Yet Hale delayed. He understood that time itself was a weapon. The longer the Dominion believed in human weakness, the deeper its defenses would rot from complacency. Among human fleets, soldiers trained in silence. No speeches, no oaths. They already knew what awaited. Each had seen the footage of murdered civilians, the laughter that followed, and carried it like oxygen in their blood. They didn't need anger to fight, they needed precision. Every soldier was a part of a machine that never forgot betrayal. Out in the border sectors, Dominion patrols began disappearing. One ship, the Crowther's Claw, returned adrift, crew catatonic. The captain's final log contained a single fragmented line. "They saw us before we saw them." Analysts dismissed it as malfunction. But whispers began spreading through Dominion ranks, rumors of shadows following them in the void. The laughter faded. In the Council's next session, the Dominion Emperor demanded more fleets to secure their border. A few allies hesitated, uneasy at the silence stretching from human space like a horizon before a storm. The ambassador of the Arkan species leaned close to him and said, almost trembling, "Perhaps the humans are planning something." The Emperor's response was dismissive. "Then let them plan. They cannot fight what they cannot reach." But somewhere beyond the frontier, engines that emitted no light began to awaken. Navigation data, precise to the molecule, aligned into trajectories too perfect to be chance. Humanity had finished preparing. The storm was ready to move, and the galaxy still mistook the silence for defeat. The Dominion's first warning came without sound or light, only absence. Entire star sectors stopped transmitting within minutes. No explosions, no distress calls, just sudden, irreversible silence. Command stations tried to reconnect their data relays, but every signal returned empty. Artificial intelligences froze mid-command, code rewriting itself into dead loops. The Dominion believed it was a malfunction, until the capital's outer defense grid went dark, every satellite offline, every orbital cannon blind. That was when fear replaced arrogance. In truth, humanity had struck hours earlier. The first wave wasn't a fleet, it was information. Thousands of invisible data threads, launched months before the first shot, now activated simultaneously. Every Dominion beacon, every warp gate, every targeting algorithm turned into a weapon against its owner. Fleet networks misidentified friend as foe, opening fire on their own escorts. Dominion engineers tried to override the system, but human code rewrote itself faster than any manual correction could manage. Within seconds, military infrastructure centuries in the making became inert metal drifting in space. Then came the second wave. Stealth cruisers, invisible to sensors, moved through the blackout zones like ghosts. Their hulls absorbed radiation, bending light and heat until even proximity scans read them as empty space. They struck command centers with precision so surgical that entire fleets died without knowing who fired first. Communications jammers seeded chaos through the Dominion's hierarchy, sending contradictory orders in the voices of their own admirals. No one could tell what was real anymore. Across the border systems, orbital defense platforms detonated internally, victims of preloaded sabotage. Dominion officers screamed into broken channels as their own ships turned toward them, misreading encrypted pings as hostile fire. The panic fed itself. By the time the Dominion High Command realized what was happening, half their outer fleet had destroyed itself in confusion. Humanity's ships hadn't even been sighted. From the command deck of Earth's central network hub, Admiral Hale watched the data feeds unfold in silence. His only order was one word: continue. The human fleets advanced through space already cleared of resistance, their engines whisper quiet, their paths exact. They didn't broadcast victory. They didn't announce engagement. They simply erased opposition with mathematical efficiency. Dominion warlords begged the Council for assistance, their transmissions fragmented by interference. The Council convened emergency meetings, demanding to know what humanity had unleashed. Their sensors found only voids, regions of perfect darkness where energy readings ceased entirely. Observers reported seeing stars vanish behind moving silhouettes, as if something vast and cold was swallowing light itself. The Council's analysts couldn't comprehend the scale of it. Humanity had become an event, not an army. Inside the Dominion's capital, chaos ruled. Emergency sirens failed as human infiltration programs corrupted planetary networks. Power grids flickered, orbital docks fell from the sky, and automated defenses turned inward, vaporizing their own cities in automated paranoia. Commanders tried to retreat to safe zones, only to find those zones already compromised. In orbit, massive Dominion dreadnoughts drifted lifeless, their reactors frozen by self-triggering failsafes. Human cyberwarfare didn't destroy, it convinced systems to destroy themselves. When the first human fleet finally revealed itself, it was already too late. Warships emerged from folded space in absolute formation, engines cold, hulls gleaming with re-entry heat. The Dominion saw them only for seconds before their sensors overloaded. Railguns fired once, only once, each shot calculated, efficient, final. The largest Dominion armada in recorded history vanished in silence. No explosion echoed, no debris field scattered, only expanding pockets of frozen gas where fleets had been. Across the galaxy, observers watched through intercepted signals, horrified. No one had ever seen war conducted like this. No chaos, no waste, no emotion. It was extermination as algorithm. The Dominion's Emperor sent one last broadcast, demanding parley, but the message reached empty space. The humans weren't listening. They didn't need to. 48 hours after the first blackout, Dominion space was gone, communications silent, colonies dark, fleets erased. Yet not a single civilian world was touched. Cities remained intact, systems powered, populations alive but leaderless. Humanity had made its point with terrifying precision, vengeance without excess, destruction without cruelty. The galaxy understood too late. Humans didn't fight for conquest. They fought for correction. And when they acted, no empire could stand against them. Dominion space lay in ruin, yet the war wasn't over. It was unraveling from within. The few surviving admirals clung to failing networks, issuing contradictory orders to phantom fleets that no longer existed. Worlds once proud under the Dominion banner now screamed into static, their cries unheard. Factories built for conquest stood silent, their automated workers frozen mid-motion. The once unstoppable empire had become a graveyard of circuits and fear. Within the shattered capital, panic replaced command. The Emperor's council met in underground shelters, surrounded by guards who no longer trusted one another. Data feeds looped images of human ships that had long since vanished, but no one could tell what was real anymore. Dominion scientists spoke of a virus that had rewritten their defense architecture beyond recovery. It didn't just disable systems, it convinced them to self-destruct. Entire planetary AIs chose shutdown over serving corrupted commands. Some whispered the humans had given their machines free will just to weaponize despair. On the outer colonies, hysteria grew. Military police fired on civilians trying to flee off-world, convinced every approaching transport carried invisible human infiltrators. Rumors spread faster than truth. Humans could walk through radiation storms, breathe toxins, and see in darkness. Others swore they didn't use ships at all, that they traveled through gravity itself. The Dominion Emperor demanded proof these were lies, but even his guards flinched at shadows. Desperation forced the Empire to deploy its forbidden arsenal, bioweapons sealed since the last galactic extinction. Scientists warned they were unstable, but orders left no room for restraint. When the canisters opened, nothing happened. The pathogens disintegrated before activation. A message flickered on their control panels, asterisk. Try again. Asterisk panic seized the laboratories. The realization came too late. Humans had already infiltrated every level of Dominion warfare. The weapons they prepared were now jokes whispered by their executioners. The Dominion attempted to rally what remained of its fleet. Generals ordered the construction of fallback defenses around their remaining core worlds, but resource ships never arrived. Navigation systems rerouted their convoys into empty space, vanishing into nothing. Human interference didn't destroy their supply chain, it removed its direction. Every surviving admiral now operated in isolation, cut from command, surrounded by enemies they couldn't see. Council observers, horrified, watched the collapse unfold in real time. They debated intervention, but none dared move. Every intercepted signal from Dominion space carried only static and fragments of human code signatures, looping endlessly. Asterisk. We warned you. Asterisk. The words became a curse, whispered across trading networks, spreading fear into neutral territories. For the first time in centuries, galactic commerce halted. Within days, the Dominion's leadership turned on itself. Officers accused subordinates of betrayal. Fleets exchanged fire without confirmation. Their communication systems, corrupted by human algorithms, replayed fake orders with authentic signatures. Every attempt at unity ended in chaos. The Empire was killing itself faster than any external assault could. When the Dominion Emperor finally ordered unconditional surrender, no one received it. His words vanished into dead air. Those near him described the moment the lights dimmed, the air filtration stopped, and silence filled the palace corridors. No explosions, no intrusion, just absence. The Emperor's voice never reached another world. Outside the Dominion's borders, human fleets remained stationary, engines cold. They watched but did not intervene. Humanity had no interest in ruling ashes. They allowed the Empire to consume itself, its own paranoia finishing what human strategy had begun. Every system they had infected was designed not to destroy but to amplify fear, to make the Dominion see monsters in every reflection until their civilization tore itself apart. By the 10th day, all resistance ended. Entire sectors powered down, communication ceased, and space returned to stillness. The Council received its final report: Dominion command structures gone, fleets dismantled, no sign of human losses. Analysts called it a strategic miracle. The elder species called it a warning. And somewhere in that silence, deep within the Dominion's dead networks, one final human transmission echoed through the void. Asterisk. We don't start wars. We finish what you begin. Asterisk. The Council gathered in uneasy quiet, its once proud chamber now hollow with the weight of dread. Delegates who had laughed at humanity only weeks before now avoided even speaking the word. Every data report told the same story: the Dominion was gone. No fleets, no government, no survivors in power. Systems that had once covered hundreds of light years were now silent voids. The war humans had not declared was over, and they had won it without a single plea for recognition. When the human envoy arrived, no escort accompanied him. He walked alone through the grand corridor, dressed in the same dark uniform, expression unreadable. No applause greeted him, no challenge barred his way. Even the most arrogant species lowered their eyes as he passed. He reached the center of the chamber, and stood before the Council without preamble, hands folded calmly behind his back. His voice carried no emotion, yet every syllable felt like judgment. "The Dominion murdered unarmed civilians," he said. "We responded accordingly. This was not conquest. It was correction." Holographic projections filled the air, Dominion worlds floating in silence, their orbital docks intact but empty. No cities burned, no mass graves, no extermination. Every planet stood preserved yet abandoned, a monument to efficiency and restraint. "We targeted their war machines, not their people," he continued. "But understand this. Mercy is a choice, not an obligation. Had we wished to end their species, none would remain to remember their name." The room trembled with silence. One delegate from the Arkan species finally spoke, voice cracking. "You destroyed an empire in less than 10 days. How can you justify such power?" The envoy's eyes flickered toward her, calm and cold. "Justification is a luxury of the innocent. We don't seek it. We act when forced." He turned his gaze to the council dais, where the oldest civilizations of the galaxy sat frozen. "For centuries you've called us primitive. You saw our wars and called them barbaric, our resilience madness, our will to survive a defect. But survival is not savagery, it's a law older than stars. You believed patience was submission. It isn't. It's precision." No one interrupted. The only sound was the faint hum of the chamber's energy core, echoing beneath his words. When you sided with the Dominion, you endorsed their act. You believed the destruction of a few thousand lives would go unanswered. Now you've seen the cost of underestimating us. If peace is what you value, then remember this moment. It wasn't rage that ended the Dominion, it was understanding that some lines, once crossed, cannot be repaired. He deactivated the holograms, leaving the chamber in dim light. "We do not seek empire. We do not need tribute. We require only this: never mistake restraint for weakness again." The envoy stepped back, giving the council time to absorb his words. No one dared respond. As he turned to leave, the alien delegates watched in silence, each calculating what it meant to coexist with a species capable of such cold precision. The Arkan delegate whispered under her breath, You call yourselves human, but what are you really? He paused for a moment, glancing back only once. We are what the universe made us. It's proof that mercy and extinction share the same hands. Then he walked away, and the chamber's great doors closed behind him with finality. In the following days, the galaxy's communication networks filled with rumors. Traders claimed to have seen ghost fleets along the outer lanes, massive human armadas drifting in formation, engines dormant but ready. Colonies whispered that humanity now guarded its borders with invisible walls, systems shielded by technology no one could trace. The Council sent envoys seeking reassurance, but Earth remained silent. No broadcast declared victory, no celebration echoed across human worlds. They returned to their work as if nothing had happened. Only one message was transmitted through official channels, repeating across the galaxy in every known language, asterisk. We asked for peace. You answered with blood. Congratulations, you just declared war on the most lethal species alive. Asterisk. Then the message ceased, and the void returned to silence. The galaxy finally understood that the warning had never been pride. It had been mercy, offered once and never again.